What are some of the style lessons that you would tell your younger self? I thought today we could unpack some of the things that I have learned over the past almost 20 years, things that I wish I could tell myself at the very beginning of my personal style journey. Before I dive into it, I think it would be really fun if you could share your own styling revelations down in the comments section below so we can have a bit of a discussion and just learn from one another. And if you are new here and would like more videos like this from me, I would love for you to subscribe. So the very first one is that nothing is timeless. And what I mean by this is that silhouettes don't tend to be timeless. Particular items, like right now, we consider denim to be timeless, but remember, for a really long period of time, the skinny jean was hailed as being a timeless wardrobe staple. And then very quickly, almost like in the blink of an eye, it swapped and it switched to more of a straight leg or a wide leg jean. Denim that felt a little bit more relaxed and less kind of painted on to our bodies. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with either, but I think that when you are seeking out modernity, you are going to continue to see that evolution of silhouettes, and eventually they will come back around again. But it is why in certain periods of your style journey, you may feel like an item is dated, and then 2 years later it feels modern and fresh because it's just kind of gotten caught up in the fashion zeitgeist. This next one I alluded to in my previous video, all around ways that you can improve your style in 2025 without shopping. I'm going to link that up in the cards. But essentially it was that your body is going to change through the different seasons of your life, so not to spend too much money on your wardrobe when you're in your early 20s. So to not get so caught up in quote unquote investing, because we can't really technically invest in our wardrobe, but buying those more significant purchases, things that are more expensive then. And there are a few reasons why. The first is, going back to my first point, that nothing is really timeless. So particular silhouettes are going to change, and while you love it now in that moment, in 10 years time, your eye might have shifted. Especially as you are at the beginning of your style journey, you may notice that your preferences land elsewhere, and this could be either end of the spectrum, from maximalism to minimalism. The second reason why is because your body does change as you go throughout those different seasons of your life. If you choose to have children, you will experience a shift in the way your body carries weight, and also as you go through menopause, you're going to experience another change in your silhouette and your physique. The other one, which I think is lesser talked about, is the fact that your feet also broaden and flatten as you get older. And I think part of this does kind of tie into having children, but just generally, you may notice that your feet get bigger as the decades of your life go on. So if you have built up a really extensive shoe collection, something I am definitely very guilty of, you may find that in a decade or 2 decades time, some of your most loved, most cherished shoes no longer fit you. Or at least they don't fit you quite the same way. I wish that I knew to keep the original hem on my denim sooner. This does come at a high cost, just getting a regular hem. So when you keep the original hem, essentially your tailor or your seamstress will cut the hem off and then reattach it in a way that makes it look like the denim was designed perfectly for you. And I will show you some footage of what this looks like and what it looks like when it's done really well. If you're getting just a regular hem, your seamstress is going to cut off the original hem and then sew you a new one with the fabric that is left over at the bottom of the jeans. So there is a difference, and it will always look nicer if you can keep the original hem. Though I did recently learn that if you are really petite and you buy denim that is incredibly long, you may not have the choice, or it can be really costly because denim sometimes does taper towards the ankle, and it means that your tailor would have to also create a taper so that the original hem matches the width of the denim. So if you are especially petite, that is something I would always recommend checking, maybe making sure you've taken the jeans into your tailor first to see before the returns policy has expired. The next style lesson I would tell my younger self is to not buy items in every single color available. And the reason why is because this doesn't actually give you true range in your wardrobe. When you're buying an item in the same color, it is essentially serving the same function, the same purpose as the original piece that you bought, that you fell in love with, that really enticed you to explore the possibility of bringing in another option. Of course, there are a couple of exceptions here, and I would say for a basic tee or even your favorite pair of jeans or trousers that you wear all the time, this might be an area where you might consider getting multiples. I know t-shirts and singlets for one are quite often the main area in my wardrobe where I'm quite happy to buy multiples. But I find that the best way to actually really create that sense of range and variation in your options and your styling options, especially as I know we're all on a finite budget, we don't have oodles of money to spend on our wardrobe, so we want to make sure we're making the right choices, is to look at different fabrications. So this allows you to create that different sensory experience, that additional tactile quality in your outfits. And often what you'll find is that the mood of that item feels very different to the original piece because the fabric has changed the way that you look at it, and also the way that that item behaves with the other things that you own in your wardrobe. Just because you love it doesn't mean you have to buy it. This really leans in on that concept of fantasy self, where we're purchasing things for our aspirational self or our old self. Maybe the items don't actually reflect our lifestyle. Maybe they're our taste, but not our style. And it's where these things don't match up that you're likely to experience some big shopping mistakes for the year. And I definitely found this with the items that I added to my wardrobe in 2024 that ended up being a little bit of a bust for me. It doesn't help if you're a real lover of beautiful things. You like to admire items, objects of beauty, of desire that you've spotted on the internet, kind of keep a tab open here and there that really just adds up to 100 or so. Then you've had them sitting there for 6 months to a year and you think, I've liked this item for so long, maybe it would be a good purchase to add to my wardrobe. So taking that step back, reflecting, asking yourself those questions, is this really me? Does it reflect my style? Is it going to work for my lifestyle? Does it match my wardrobe? Is there a gap in my closet? Do I need to have it? Asking yourself all those questions can really help to limit the number of shopping mistakes that you make. Don't rule out a category of clothing. Now, this was something that I actually did in my early 20s. I ruled out trousers as an item I could add into my wardrobe. And in large part, this had to do with what was readily available at the time. I found that my measurements didn't match up to the type of pants that were accessible to me, both at the price point and also in the stores that I frequented. And so it meant that every time I tried on a trouser, I came away feeling really defeated, like there was something wrong with me rather than the clothing that I was trying on. And I wanted to eliminate that feeling. So I thought, you know what? I'm just going to steer clear of trousers. I love a more feminine silhouette anyway. And that was my style very much at that time. Eventually, I remember being delighted by finding a pair of trousers at Glassons of all places that actually fitted my physique and fitted me well. And I remember buying that in 2 colors, and that kind of opened up the door for me to try out trousers again. But it's kind of funny to think that for a really considerable length of time, I just ruled it out completely and it was not even close to being part of my style repertoire. Looking back, it's kind of funny to me that I did this for so long. And all of this is to say that just because you've had a bad run of trying to add an item into your wardrobe, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not for you. Maybe it's a fabrication thing, maybe it's a detailed silhouette cut issue, or maybe it's a categorization issue. For example, blazers, something that we quite commonly associate as being very tailored and also a little bit more formal, but they can play that role of transitional weight jacket in your wardrobe. And for you, a transitional weight jacket might look very different. Chances are, once you've settled on form and function, you'll probably end up finding the right thing for you, especially now we live in this age of choice. There is basically every single style out there that you could possibly wish to choose from. Next one is to not buy something because it is a bargain. And I can't tell you how many times I've done this, especially with the Real Real. An item will be reduced to, you know, $30 and I'll think, gosh, it would be criminal not to snap up this insert designer name here. And I have to take a step back and go, is the reason why I want to add this to my cart because it is insert brand name here? Or is it because I actually love this item? Or is it because the price being as low as it is feels incredibly low risk? All this does is create additional noise in your wardrobe with items that you probably wouldn't have bought if they were full price. And that's a good question to go back and ask yourself, especially if you are someone who thrifts and who finds a lot of really good deals. And also a reminder that just because something has a brand name on it doesn't mean that it is right for you or for your wardrobe, and that it's even a good piece for your wardrobe or even reflective of your personal style. If it's not comfortable, you will not wear it. This is something I especially have to tie back to shoes. I have a bunion on my left foot, which I got as a teenager from school shoes, and These days, because I've got wide feet, I just have zero tolerance for uncomfortable shoes. If they don't feel comfortable when I'm trying them on, chances are they're probably not going to be comfortable the moment I step out the store and I'm walking around in them. The same goes for the clothing that we wear as well. It needs to feel right for your level of comfort, and what this looks like for you will be different to what it looks like for me. And I think that it's worth just leaning in on that, understanding the fabrications that you feel best in, that allow you to be agile and active and move around, the silhouettes that are going to allow you to do the things that you want to do on a daily, weekly basis. And I guess in some ways that's also reflective of your lifestyle and where you are in that phase of life. So for example, when you're younger, you may find you have a higher tolerance for clothing that feels a little bit uncomfortable, but that this steeply declines as you get older. But just something to keep in mind, if you find it's uncomfortable when you're trying it on, you're fussing with it, I've said this so many times, you are unlikely to reach for it 9 times out of 10. You're always going to pick the thing that feels comfortable, that feels effortless, and it's really identifying what pieces do match up with the comfort level that you're expecting, that you require from your clothing, and ensuring that any new clothing items you bring into your wardrobe match that same comfort level. And it doesn't mean that you can't wear tailored clothing, you can, it's just knowing what details to look for. And this kind of moves on to my next point, which is to understand the formality level of how you like to dress. And I've gotten so many comments over the years that I always look a lot more dressed up than I need to be for the situation. And part of this, I think, comes down to how my mum always dressed. She was always someone who kind of made herself up. She put a lot of pride in her appearance, and she's definitely instilled that same quality in myself. I used to be someone who would wear heels and a button-down shirt and then a knee-length skirt to university. I wasn't the person wearing, you know, a long sleeve top and jeans. I was always a lot more dressed up, probably out of context as well, but that was how I felt most comfortable, and I really made sure to kind of lean in on that. I knew that that was the level of formality that I liked to dress in, and I kind of owned it. And I think when you understand that, it also allows you to shape and decide the items that you're bringing in and making sure that they match, that they're on the same level, rather than buying things that are either at a higher formality level or a lower one, because you aren't going to feel quite as good in those clothing items. Spend more on your basics. What I mean by this are the items that you wear on repeat that are on the highest rotation in your wardrobe. In the wintertime, this might look like a really good coat, something that's quite dramatic because it sort of becomes the outfit. Maybe you're someone who really loves a tailored trouser and it sort of forms the basis of your style uniform for the year. Maybe you love a great pair of loafers and they're kind of your flat closed-toe shoe of choice. Understanding your basics, the ones that you repeat all the time that really form the foundation of your style, and spending more there is going to serve you better than spending more on items that you very infrequently reach for. So a special occasion piece when you hardly ever go out. You'd be better off putting more of that budget towards the items that you wear a lot, that are really serving as a workhorse in your closet, because you're going to get your cost per wear. And this is definitely a lesson that I'm still trying to instill in myself. Instead of spending an obscene amount of money on a special occasion top that I'm never going to wear, putting that towards a really beautiful knit sweater instead, because I love my cashmere knits in the wintertime. Buying specific items will not make you stylish. I kind of turned this into a little bit of a series on TikTok, which I really need to start back up again, but essentially it's just a reminder that no item that you add into your wardrobe is going to act as a panacea to good style. And I've said this before, but the way to achieve good style is to really engage in wardrobe playtime, to mess around with your clothing and authentically discover the ways that you want to dress every single day. A lot of this comes with drowning out the noise, focusing far less on what everybody else is wearing and kind of looking introspectively at what it is that you personally appreciate in your clothing, the flourishes that you really like and that you admire, and also thinking about how your experiences play into this as well. I think when you put a lot of stock into a particular item to lift all of your outfits, you're going to end up feeling disappointed, because at the end of the day, after a period of time in your closet, it's just going to become stuff. The thing that is going to give you style, that's going to make you feel stylish, is the way that you put all of those ingredients together. Don't buy things because you think you need to own them. And really what I'm referring to here are those capsule wardrobe lists that very specifically lay out the types of items you should have in your wardrobe. And I will say that I definitely got caught up in this as I discovered the capsule wardrobe movement and also that French style way of building a wardrobe, which is very kind of minimal and pared back. And what I found is that one, this creates a really homogeneous sense of a wardrobe. It can feel limiting in the sense that it doesn't really take into account those flourishes that we might like to add to our outfits. It doesn't factor in your lifestyle, where you live, your actual tastes and your preferences. There's an underlying blueprint here, and I'll use the blazer again as the example. A blazer could hold that place of a formal jacket or a transitional weight jacket in your wardrobe. What are the alternatives to that? If you're looking at a formal jacket, maybe it is some sort of a collarless ladylike jacket in a boucle or a tweed. There are other options, but that's the first one that comes to mind. Maybe for a transitional weight jacket, it's a utility style jacket or a denim jacket, and that would be what you'd be wearing in place of a blazer. And the last style lesson I wish I could tell my younger self is it the item I want, or am I after the vibe, the mood, the feeling I get when I look at that piece? I'm going to go back to an example that I've shared before, the Acne Mini Musubi bag. Now, I coveted this bag for a good 2 years, I think, before I finally took the plunge and bought it. And to this day, it is one of my most favorite, most beloved bags. But curiosity got the better of me because I saw that Arket had done their own take on the style. And you can see, I'll put some video on screen, you can see they're not exact, but it's very similar. It's kind of giving that same vibe. And I decided, you know what, I'm gonna order it. I wanna see how it compares to my mini Musubi bag. And what I found when it arrived was that it actually offered me a really similar feeling when I carried it. No, it's not exactly the same, but I am achieving the same mood that I wanted to get out of the Acne Mini Musubi bag. So I think understanding those differences can actually be something that does save you a lot of money in the long run. Anyway, that is everything I have to share in today's video, all the style lessons I would tell my younger self. I hope that you enjoyed this one. Maybe you learned a thing or two along the way. I want to know the style lessons that you would impart on your younger self, so please be sure to share those down in the comments. Thank you so much, as always, for spending some of your day with me. I'm always really grateful, and I will see you next week with a brand new one. See you very soon. Bye.